I would like to speak to you concerning no time to look back. It's no time to look back on today. And if you're looking back at anything in your life, you know, sometimes we so busy thinking about the fact that we look back on our past hurts, our past disappointments, our past failures. But also you can look back at your past victories, and therefore you won't even get the victories that God has ordained in this season in your life. Sometimes we're so busy looking back at the past victories or the past glories that we once had. Have you ever heard somebody say, oh, I remember those glory days? But they don't recognize that those glory days can be again in their lives. Because if they don't focus on what is in their past, but focus on what is in their future. So if you would go with me to Genesis 19 and 17. That's Genesis 19 and 17. Because we have to stop looking back. If you're looking back, you surely can't go forward. Matter of fact, if you're looking back, you're going to stumble. If you're looking back, your progress will be stopped. And we have to know tonight is no time to look back. It's no time to look back at anything that's behind us, because whatever is behind us is in our past, and we want to know what God has for our future. But in Genesis 19 and 17, it said, and it came to pass when they had brought them forth abroad, then he said, escape for your life. Look not behind thee. God had given Lot and his family a commission. He said, escape for your life. If you want to live, you got to focus on your future. If you want to do something great in God, you got to focus on your future. If you want to accomplish the goals that God has ordained, you got to focus on your future. He said, escape for your life. Look not back. That sounds pretty specific to me. That sounds like God means what he says and says what he means. At that very moment, God was saying, it's no time to look back. He said, escape for your life. If you want to live, if you want to accomplish my will for your life, then it's no time to look back on today. And neither stay in the plain, escape to the mountain, lest thou be consumed. And you know, the thing about God that I like is God always warns us. Now, whether we take heed to the warning is another story. But it's not like God doesn't warn us. He always warns us about what we need to do to better our lives. And you know, it's unfortunate that many times God gives people things that if you don't do this, your future may not be as bright as you thought. But sometimes we don't always take that seriously like God has ordained. And we don't take seriously sometimes that it's no time to look back. But we got to heed to the warning that God gives us and go forward. In verse 19, 22 through 26, it says, haste thee, escape hither, for I cannot do anything till thou come out. Some things God can't do till we come out of the place we in. Some things God cannot do until we begin to move forward and we come out of this place that we've been in. Lot and his family had been in a place that God wanted to bring them out of. They had been in a place of bondage. They had been in a place of negativity. They had been in a place of perverseness. And God said, I can't do nothing till you move forward. I can't even do what I plan to do in your life until you move forward. He said, therefore, the name of the city was called Zoar. The sun was risen up on the earth when Lot entered into Zoar. Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and on Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew the cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the city that which were grew upon the ground. And anytime God's trying to bring you out of something, God has specific instructions. But when God told him, he said, I can't do nothing till you go forward. And he said, and don't look behind, escape for your life, lest thou be consumed. Now, he gave that instructions to everybody. And I believe even if he gave it to Lot, Lot was so concerned about them coming out of what they in, he told everybody. Has something happened in your life and everybody in the house told you what was going on and you still missed the boat? You still missed what God was about to do, even though you heard the instruction, because sometimes we don't believe what we hear. Sometimes we take for granted that we hear. But God told him, he said, don't look back, lest you be consumed. But in that last verse in 26, it said, but his wife looked back. She looked from behind because she was still focused on what was in the past. And sometimes when you still focus on what's in the past, you're like the children of Israel that say the onions and garlics was better in Egypt than where God has taken us. And we don't necessarily know what all God is going to do, but we got to know whatever God got ahead is better than what we left. We got to know that whatever God has in our future is much better than what we have behind. You know, sometimes God has to push people out of their present to get them into their future. And sometimes we be concerned about the fact that we lost a job. And you hear stories all the time. Until I lost that job, I never began to do that entrepreneurial idea that been in my spirit for a long time. Or until I left that relationship, I never met the man of my dreams or the woman of my dreams. You know, sometimes we get so stuck in a rut. We so focus on always thinking that the past is better. Well, if it's the past, that says that it's not good for the present anyway. But she was so caught up in that environment. And you know, that goes along with what they say. You can take them out the country, but you can't get the country out of them sometimes. You can take them out the ghetto, but sometimes you can't get the ghetto out of them. You can remove them from that environmental influence, but sometimes that environmental influence is so deep down on the inside that even after they hear it and they know it's a better plan, they still want to be where they are. And she was looking back because she was saying, what's back there, I believe is better than where I'm going. So that lets you know her relationship with God wasn't what it needed to be. And if we're always looking back in our past, if we're always looking back at what we did yesterday, then sometimes we got to evaluate, is my relationship with God as good as it is? Is as good as I say it is? Because we got to know that God always has something better. He always got a brighter future. You know, he said that the old covenant was good, but he had a new covenant. You know, when Adam and Eve sinned, God didn't say, well, oh, Adam, why did y'all do that? You know how we wear stuff out. Oh, why did you do that? Why did you say that? No, God immediately had a new plan. And that's what we got to be, because we got to know that it's no time to look back. I got to immediately focus on the future. So many times when we make mistakes or when we do something wrong or we experience failure, we go into condemnation. Oh, if I woulda, coulda, shoulda. And you know, the thing about it is, you don't want at the end of your story still talking about if I coulda, woulda, shoulda. You need to say, no, I realized what I did wrong. I left that in my past and I'm going forward. I realized that what was in my past wasn't as good for me, because what was in my past, at that moment when it was in my past, I was in an immature state. See, sometimes we don't want to admit that we ain't where we think we are. Sometimes we don't want to admit that we're not as strong in the Lord as we need to be. But the thing about it is, God is so good, because he said we go from faith to faith, glory to glory. 5 years ago, I know I wasn't where I am today. You know, so I'm not looking at what's in the past right now. I'm focused on where is my future. God, what is your perfect will for my life? So it's no time to look back on today. And when she looked back, her progress said,